A blast from the recent past? Remember 2008? Lehman Brothers crashed, the stock market tanked, and oh yeah, nearly 10 million families lost their homes to foreclosure. That's right, 10 million. Imagine the entire population of New York City suddenly homeless. That's the human cost of a housing crash. But hey, at least it's over, right? We learned our lesson. We'd never let that happen again, right? Buckle up, Buttercup, because things are about to get bumpy. The 2008 crash wasn't just about houses. It was about a system built on shaky foundations. When the housing market collapsed, it triggered a chain reaction. Banks failed, businesses closed, millions lost their jobs. Retirement accounts vanished faster than a politician's promise. The Great Recession, as it came to be known, left a scar on the global economy. It proved that what happens in Vegas, or in this case, the housing market, doesn't stay in Vegas. It affects us all. This time it's different, and not in a good way. Fast forward to 2025. The housing market is hotter than ever. Prices are skyrocketing. Bidding wars are the norm. Sound familiar? It should. We've seen this movie before, and spoiler alert, it doesn't end well. But here's the kicker. This time, it's worse. We're facing a perfect storm of economic uncertainty, rising interest rates, and a whole new generation of subprime borrowers. Get ready for a bumpy ride. Remember those subprime mortgages that tanked the economy back in 2008? Well, they're back, baby. Like a bad rash, they've resurfaced, offering loans to people who can't afford them. Because nothing says financial stability like giving a mortgage to someone who lists professional Fortnite player as their primary source of income. These loans are ticking time bombs, just waiting to explode. And when they do, they'll take the entire housing market down with them. Deja vu, anyone? Section 5, the government's role. A helping hand or fuel on the fire? This section delves into the intricate and often controversial role that the government plays in the housing market. It's a topic that has sparked countless debates, with opinions ranging from staunch support to vehement opposition. But one thing is clear. The government's actions or inactions have far-reaching consequences for all of us. Now you might be thinking, surely the government learned its lesson from last time, right? After all, the previous housing crisis was a wake-up call of epic proportions. It exposed the vulnerabilities in our financial system and the devastating impact of unchecked speculation. But has the government really taken those lessons to heart? Or are we doomed to repeat the same mistakes? Well, let's just say our elected officials haven't exactly been covering themselves in glory lately. The halls of power have been filled with heated debates, partisan bickering, and, unfortunately, more than a few scandals. It's enough to make any concerned citizen wonder if our leaders are more interested in scoring political points than in finding real solutions. Instead of addressing the root causes of the housing crisis, they've been throwing more money at the problem, hoping that financial band-aids will somehow heal deep-seated wounds. This approach might provide temporary relief, but it does little to solve the underlying issues. It's like trying to put out a raging fire with a garden hose. Ineffective and ultimately futile. Like a toddler trying to fix a broken vase with glitter and glue. The intentions might be good, but the execution leaves much to be desired. Instead of a seamless repair, we end up with a sticky, glittery mess that barely holds together. This metaphor perfectly encapsulates the government's well-meaning but often misguided attempts to stabilize the housing market. Their policies, while well-intentioned, have only served to inflate the housing bubble even further. By pumping more money into the system without addressing the structural flaws, they've created an environment where prices continue to soar, making it even harder for ordinary people to afford a home. It's a vicious cycle that seems to have no end in sight. It's like watching a slow-motion train wreck, and we're all strapped to the tracks. We can see the disaster unfolding before our eyes, but we feel powerless to stop it. The sense of impending doom is palpable, and the frustration is mounting. How did we get here? And more importantly, how do we get out? To understand the current predicament, we need to look back at history. The housing market has always been a complex and volatile beast, prone to booms and busts. Past crises have shown us that without proper regulation and oversight, the market can spiral out of control, leading to devastating consequences for millions of people. The Great Depression, the savings and loan crisis of the 1980s, and the 2008 financial meltdown are stark reminders of what can happen when things go wrong. Economists and financial experts have long warned about the dangers of an overheated housing market. They've pointed to the signs of trouble, skyrocketing prices, increasing debt levels, and speculative investments. Yet despite these warnings, the government has often been slow to act, either out of complacency or a reluctance to intervene in the free market. This hesitation has only exacerbated the problem, allowing the bubble to grow larger and more precarious. Meanwhile, on the ground, ordinary citizens are feeling the pinch. Community meetings and public protests have become more common as people voice their concerns about housing affordability and the lack of effective government action. The frustration is palpable, and the demand for change is growing louder. People are tired of empty promises and want real, tangible solutions that will make a difference in their lives. There are glimmers of hope, however. Across the country, innovative housing solutions are emerging. From tiny homes to cooperative housing projects, people are finding creative ways to address the housing crisis. These grassroots efforts show that with determination and ingenuity, it's possible to make a difference. But for these solutions to have a lasting impact, they need support from all levels of government. The path forward requires a collaborative effort. Government officials need to work hand in hand with community leaders, housing advocates, and financial experts to develop policies that address the root causes of the crisis. This means not just throwing money at the problem, but implementing comprehensive reforms that promote affordability, stability, and sustainability in the housing market. It's a daunting task, but it's not impossible. With the right approach, we can turn the tide and create a housing market that works for everyone. Imagine a future where families can afford to buy their first home, where communities are vibrant and thriving, and where the fear of losing one's home is a thing of the past. It's a vision worth striving for, and it starts with recognizing the crucial role that the government must play in making it a reality. Bubble trouble, seeing double in 2025. Remember those crazy days of 2006 when people were buying houses they couldn't afford, taking out loans that seemed too good to be true, and diving headfirst into the real estate market without a second thought? It was a time when the housing market was booming and everyone wanted a piece of the action. People were convinced that real estate was the golden ticket to wealth, and they were willing to take enormous risks to get in on the game. Flipping them for a profit and generally acting like money grew on trees? The idea was simple. Buy a house, fix it up, and sell it for a higher price. It seemed like a foolproof plan, and for a while it worked. People were making money hand over fist, and the market was on fire. But as we all know, what goes up must come down. The bubble burst, and the fallout was catastrophic. Homeowners found themselves underwater, owing more on their mortgages than their homes were worth. Foreclosures skyrocketed, and the economy took a massive hit. Well, guess what? It's happening again. The housing market is in full-blown bubble mode. Fast forward to 2025, and it feels like deja vu. The signs are all there. Skyrocketing home prices, bidding wars, and a frenzy of buying activity. People are once again stretching their finances to the limit, convinced that real estate is a surefire investment. The prices of homes have doubled, even tripled in some areas, and the market shows no signs of slowing down. It's a feeding frenzy, and everyone wants a piece of the pie. Prices are detached from reality, and everyone's convinced they're a real estate mogul. The media is filled with stories of overnight success, of people making fortunes in real estate. Social media is flooded with posts of new homeowners celebrating their purchases, convinced they've made the best investment of their lives. But beneath the surface, there are cracks. The fundamentals don't add up, and the market is being driven by speculation and fear of missing out. It's a house of cards, and it's only a matter of time before it comes crashing down. But here's the thing about bubbles. They eventually burst. History has a way of repeating itself, and the lessons of the past are often forgotten. The warning signs are there for those who choose to see them. The market can't sustain these inflated prices forever, and when the bubble bursts, the consequences will be severe. Homeowners will once again find themselves in financial trouble, and the ripple effects will be felt throughout the economy. It's a sobering thought, but one that needs to be considered. And when this one does, it's going to be messy. The fallout will be widespread, affecting not just homeowners, but also investors, banks, and the broader economy. The dream of easy money in real estate will turn into a nightmare for many. It's a cycle we've seen before, and it's one that we're likely to see again. The key is to learn from the past and approach the market with caution, because in the end, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Red flags. Flying. Ignore them at your peril. The warning signs are everywhere, like flashing neon signs screaming, "Danger!" It's almost impossible to miss them, yet somehow we manage to look the other way. Why? Because it's easier to ignore the uncomfortable truth than to face it head-on. But ignoring these signs comes at a perilous cost. Housing crash ahead. But are we paying attention? Of course not. We're too caught up in the frenzy of the moment, the excitement of the chase. The housing market has become a high-stakes game, and everyone wants a piece of the action. But this game has serious consequences. The signs are all around us. Yet we choose to remain blissfully ignorant. We're too busy bidding $100,000 over asking price for a fixer-upper with a leaky roof and a family of raccoons living in the attic. It's madness. The allure of owning property has clouded our judgment. We overlook the flaws, the red flags, and the warning signs because we don't want to miss out. But at what cost? The market is overheated and the bubble is about to burst. From rising interest rates to increasing foreclosures, the data is clear. We're headed for a fall. The numbers don't lie. Interest rates are climbing, making mortgages more expensive. Foreclosures are on the rise, a clear indication that people are struggling to keep up with their payments. The financial landscape is shifting and not in our favor. Yet we continue to ignore the signs, hoping that somehow things will work out. The question is, how hard will we land? The impact of this crash will be felt far and wide. Families will lose their homes, savings will be wiped out, and the economy will take a significant hit. It's not a matter of if, but when. The warning signs are there for a reason. They are meant to alert us, to prepare us for what's coming. But if we continue to ignore them, we do so at our own peril. The time to act is now. We must pay attention to the signs, make informed decisions, and brace ourselves for the inevitable. Ignoring them is not an option. The cost is too high. The writing's on the wall. Are we doomed to repeat history? So is another housing crash inevitable? The short answer is, nobody knows for sure. But the signs are certainly ominous. We've seen this pattern before, and history has a nasty habit of repeating itself. We can choose to ignore the warning signs, but we do so at our own peril. The future of the housing market, and indeed the entire economy, hangs in the balance. Learn from yesterday, live for today, prepare for tomorrow. The good news is we're not powerless. We can learn from the mistakes of the past. We can demand better from our elected officials, and we can make smart financial decisions today to protect ourselves from the uncertainty of tomorrow. Knowledge is power. Let's use it to build a more stable and equitable future for all. Your turn. What keeps you up at night? So what do you think? Are we on the brink of another housing crisis? What steps are you taking to protect yourself? Share your thoughts, fears, and maybe even a few memes in the comments below. We're all in this together, folks. Let's try not to burn the whole thing down this time.